everyone. Welcome back to the CobbTV studios for another edition of the Conversation with the Chairwoman. And Chairwoman, it's been a while since we've been in here. We're now in our post-COVID configuration.
Yes.
But it's not like we haven't been out there. There's been town halls and forums of which you've appeared and I've been at as well. So it's been a busy time of year.
It really has been. And you know, one thing that's kept us particularly busy is the upcoming referendum that we have on Cityhood.
Right. Yeah. And the advanced voting for that has started even as we speak. And just what is your thoughts going into this advanced voting? And this is really a unique primary for Cobb County.
It is. It's my hope and desire that the citizens of the areas that are being proposed for cities know that it's being proposed and get to the ballot box so they can vote.
Right. And we've had a lot of, like you said, town halls and forums, and you've been answering a lot of questions. You and I sat through a media interview yesterday. Even as we go into voting, it seems like there are still a lot of questions out there.
There are. You know, people are still asking for clarifying information, and the unfortunate thing is we're still hearing misinformation that's been utilized to drive the need for cityhood. And it's been difficult because we want people to be able to consider information, but consider factual information in making a decision.
Right. So how do you handle that? We at the county have, I think, bent over backwards, in my opinion, at least to remain impartial in this debate, but to provide educational resources for people to get some of the answers that they've been asking us for. Yeah. But you mentioned that you've had some level of frustration with the dialogue out there.
Yes, and I think we have done a great job. We have the website, we have the many meetings that we've had as a county, but I've seen this morph into a political campaign where I've seen ads and that seem to, again, skew what I think is proper or factual information about what is driving cityhood. You know, anything from industrial development coming to uniform Soviet Union-style housing, and even the misinterpretation of the county's need to address affordable housing has been utilized as an impetus for why this board shouldn't be governing development on a more local scale. And so that's been frustrating for us to be able to get our arms around.
And there's been some criticism out there about some of the responses to that where you try to, what in our opinion is provide them with education, but that's viewed by others as doing something else.
Exactly. And I think just by us addressing cityhood has been deemed for some to be viewed as being in opposition to it. And it's interesting, and when I talk to some people and I share with them, I understand the impetus for cityhood and wanting a sense of place and coming from a community advocacy background, they'll tell me that I'm supportive of cityhood. And so it's hard, regardless of what you say, to end up landing in that neutral territory. But it's our goal, again, as a county to be able to share the impact that we know it's going to have on the county. But for me as a chair, it's extremely important to clear up misinformation, because if you're in a city or not, you're still going to be part of the county. And we're still going to have to work with the leaders of that city and with our citizens. And we want them to know the things that we're doing and not to feel as if our ability to address matters in their community or to address policy is something that should just be viewed as negative.
Right. And some of the things that you have said, including in your State of the County, has been used in some of these campaigns, yeah. Which also seems to be a matter of frustration for you.
Certainly. You know, one of the big things from that is the discussion around affordable housing, which is a discussion that is taking place nationally. Finding a place to live that people can afford, irrespective of their income level, is a challenge anywhere. And I think it's been a challenge because we just have very limited inventory across the United States, and particularly here in the metro region, which is going to naturally drive up prices. And just addressing that fact that Cobb needs to address affordable housing has been viewed as me wanting to change the character of communities. And I think it gets to the need for us to be able to have these conversations because there's so many ways to consider affordable housing. There's so many different housing types to be considered. And to just use that blanketly as a reason why we need to take zoning matters within our own hands, I feel is a bit disingenuous, because this is an issue that is going to be with us even if you're in a city.
One of the questions that we received a lot, and when this all was passed by the legislature for the 3 cities in East Cobb, Lost Mountain, and Vinings, we started getting a lot of phone calls in my office because we have the general phone number line for the county.
Okay.
And a lot of the questions had to do with how the residents will be impacted financially, and that kind of dovetailed into how that would impact the county financially. And that's been really one of the most common questions that we've received.
Yes, certainly. People want to know, are they going to end up having to pay more in taxes? And we can't answer that definitively. But we do know there is going to be a financial impact to the county if the 4 cities were to move forward. And, we've approximated that to be about $41 million. And so the county, to provide the same level of service and a high level of service, we're going to have to address that one way or another.
Right. And that kind of leads me into my next question. That impacts me personally as well, and many department heads in the county, is that we're already trying to put a budget together for the upcoming year, and we have this huge unknown sitting there. So as chairwoman, how are you looking at that?
Yes, we have to plan irrespective of what may occur. So right now, our budget is taking into consideration that Cobb is going to operate as it is today. Even if the cities were to move forward, it's still going to take time for them to elect leaders and to put together their articles of incorporation to determine how they're going to operate. And so we've got to keep this county running, and we're doing that based on anticipating that right now no cities would move forward. And after the primary, we'll go from there and see how we may need to adjust.
Putting a budget together and voting on it, and at the same time we're looking at the millage rate as well. That's always a rough time, but now this seems like we're just kind of barreling into some unknown.
True in some respect, but there are some things we do know. We do know from looking at the cities that have been proposed that there are more services that citizens are saying they would like. And from some of the conversations that we've had, citizens are still expecting a high level of service. And that's something that we do need to address as a county. And to address issues often takes us addressing it financially, making sure that we have adequate staff, that we have well-trained staff to respond to the needs of our citizens. And these are going to be taken into consideration as we consider our budget and our millage rate. But we're hoping that with the lift that we've had, with all the development going on, that there will be a minor impact, but we'll see.
Well, one more thing I wanted to talk about while we're sitting here today is I think in a previous meeting you made it clear that we will not have a mobility SPLOST on the ballot this November. Instead, we're looking at 24, if I remember correctly.
Yes, now we're looking at 24.
But I also know that doesn't mean we haven't stopped meeting and talking about it.
Thank you. We've had a number of meetings and meetings with stakeholders to see how we can move forward in 2024. And our initial stakeholder starts with our Board of Commissioners to see where their appetite is and the things they want to address. And we've also met with our mayors and our transportation consultants and engineers across the metro region. And I'm hoping what we'll see is a more unified effort in putting something forward that will help the county address transportation issues into the future.
Okay, before we sign off on this one, is there anything else you want to add?
Is there anything else I should add? I am wearing red and blue today, and that may signify that voting is going on right now. We are in the throes of early voting. So if you have not gone out and cast a ballot, I encourage you to do so. And if you are in an area that may be considered for cityhood, please do what you can to get educated. We have our website, www.cobbcounty.org/cityhood, where you can get information. And we hope you learn as much as possible so that you can be informed and empowered when you go cast your ballot.
All right, appreciate you coming down here today to our post-COVID TV studio, and her schedule's very tight. I want it to be shown on the record that I insisted we shoot this before she finished her coffee. So
good job. There's still a little bit left.
There's still some in there. Yeah. So again, I appreciate you coming down, Chairwoman, and have a good week, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Ross. Appreciate it.